Have you ever been around someone who, without saying a word, made you feel at peace? As if, for the first time in your life, you didn't need to explain your pain to be understood? A woman came to Ramana Maharshi with a pain so deep she couldn't form words. She just sat in front of him and began to cry. He said nothing. He didn't try to comfort her. He didn't offer advice. He just was there. 2 hours later, she stopped crying, and for the first time in years, she actually smiled. If you grew up being loved only when you were well, if you learned that your feelings bothered others, prepare to discover that there is a language older than words. Imagine a 16-year-old boy in 1896 India. Venkataraman, that was Ramana's real name, was at home when an overwhelming terror gripped him. The absolute certainty that he was going to die. But instead of running, instead of calling someone, he did something revolutionary. He lay down on the ground and decided to observe his own death. "I'm going to die now," he thought. "Okay, let's see what this is." He closed his eyes, stopped breathing, let his body go rigid, and waited. And it was in this total surrender that something extraordinary happened. He realized he was still there. Not his body, not his thoughts, not his worries about pleasing others. Bhute, the purest essence of your being. At that moment, Ramana died, but not physically. He killed something much deeper, the need to be someone else in order to survive. From that day on, he stopped performing. He stopped playing the perfect son, the ideal student. He simply stopped. And you know what happens when you stop performing? People get uncomfortable, because your authenticity exposes their falseness. At 17, he left home. He went to a sacred mountain and remained there for decades, not escaping life, but diving so deeply into it that he found something unshakable, who he truly was. People traveled thousands of miles just to sit in his presence. Intellectuals with entire libraries in their heads. Mystics with decades of spiritual practice. Ordinary people carrying traumas they couldn't name. And everyone discovered the same thing. That healing doesn't come through more information, more techniques, or more words. Healing comes through being truly seen by someone who has no agenda to fix you. True presence isn't about being quiet. It's about being completely present with yourself. Without masks, without characters, without the compulsive need to impress. Jung said that everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. But Ramana discovered the opposite. When you stop being irritated with yourself, others stop being irritated in your presence. Here's the truth. You recognize true presence because you're desperately hungry for it. You grew up in a world where everyone talks, but no one communicates. Where everyone performs love, but no one truly loves. Ramana didn't heal people with words, because he knew that humanity's deepest wound cannot be healed with concepts. It's the wound of never having been truly seen, of having learned that one's essence wasn't enough. What if I told you that you too can become that clean mirror? That healing presence is not a divine gift, but a human decision. You grew up in a house full of words, but you were emotionally starved. Your parents talked about work, about the neighbors' problems, but they never asked how you really felt. And now you're an adult who knows how to talk about 1,000 things, but you get stuck when you have to say, "I'm scared," without feeling like you're asking too much. Imagine a child trying to tell his mother he had a nightmare. The busy mother replies, "It was just a dream, it will pass." The child insists, "But I was scared." And the mother, "There's no need to be scared, it doesn't exist." In that moment, the child learned 3 devastating lessons. Her feelings don't matter, her internal reality isn't valid, and asking to be seen is inappropriate. You grew up in a family that talked, a lot, about everything, except about what really mattered. Each person's inner world, the fears, the dreams, the doubts, the loneliness that everyone felt, but no one dared to name. The tragedy of noisy families isn't what they say, it's what they don't say. You've learned that communication is about exchanging information, when in reality, communication is about exchanging essences. There's a world of difference between defensive silence and healing silence. Defensive silence stems from trauma. When you remain silent because you've learned that your words don't matter, that your feelings are uncomfortable. But healing silence arises from fullness. It's when you're so present, so connected to yourself, that you don't need to prove anything. You don't need to impress, you don't need to teach, you don't even need to help. Viktor Frankl discovered in the concentration camps that suffering cannot be eliminated with words, but it can be transformed with meaning. Ramana discovered something even more profound, that meaning emerges when you stop trying to explain pain and allow it to exist in the presence of love. The wound that's been bleeding inside you for decades is this. You've learned that love is a performance, that to be loved, you need to be interesting, useful, and well-behaved, that your negative feelings drive people away. So you've developed a sinister skill, talking a lot without saying anything, filling conversations with information, opinions, anything to avoid the terrible risk of revealing your true colors. You became fluent in the language of the surface, but illiterate in the language of the soul. Ramana attracted people from all over the world, not because he spoke beautifully, but because he had become fluent in the language of true being. The child inside you is still waiting for someone to ask how it feels and actually want to hear the answer. That person could be you. After decades of welcoming visitors from around the world, Ramana was asked what his greatest teaching was. His answer was devastatingly simple. Be who you are. Not become someone better. Just be who you already are. But how do you do that when you've spent your whole life learning to be someone else? Healing presence isn't a skill you develop. It's a natural state you regain when you stop fighting your own nature. It's who you are when you're not performing, defending, or trying to impress. Think of a small child. They don't try to be authentic. They just are. They don't try to be present. They're completely absorbed in the moment. They don't try to heal anyone, but their genuine laughter can brighten an entire day. Kierkegaard said that life can only be understood by looking back, but it must be lived by looking forward. Ramana discovered something more profound. Life can only be lived fully when you stop looking in any direction and simply, this where is it? You don't become wise by eliminating your pain. You become wise by making peace with it. You don't become strong by avoiding vulnerabilities. You become strong by inhabiting them with courage. Here is the final truth that will set you free. You are already the healing presence you've always sought in others. You already carry within you the capacity to offer what you most needed to receive. The unconditional acceptance you sought from your parents. The non-judgmental understanding you sought from friends. The unpretentious presence you desired in your partners. All of this already exists within you. When you become intimate with your own pain without trying to change it, it stops screaming and starts whispering wisdom. When you accept your imperfections without trying to fix them, they become the gateway to your truest humanity. Ramana didn't heal people by teaching techniques. He healed by being a living example that it is possible to live from your truest center. You can become that too. You can become the adult the wounded child within you always needed. Someone who looks at you with compassion instead of criticism, who accepts you with love instead of conditions. Healing presence is not a gift, it's a decision. The decision to stop running from yourself and start inhabiting your own life with courage, compassion, and brutal honesty. Today, in this moment, you can make the same choice Ramana made. You can decide to die to who you think you need to be and be reborn to who you really are. The silence that heals isn't anywhere out there. It's here inside, waiting for you to stop running and finally come home. You don't have to become anything. You just have to stop pretending to be something else.